guys, so today's video is going to be pros and cons of living in the UK. Basically, recently there was EMP elections. If you don't know what that is, it's where everyone over the age of 18 in the UK goes and votes for who they want to represent them in the European Parliament. I can't vote because I'm only 17, and it got me kind of thinking about the good things and the bad things about living in the UK. I was then kind of even more spurred on by this because everyone on BookTube is talking about BEA and BookCon, and the Vlogbrothers were talking about this year's VidCon, and I can't go to any of them because I live here and they're all in the US. And I don't have the money to travel to the US like every other week. I wish I did, because like it'd be great. But so this is a video that's going to talk about the pros and the cons of living here. Pros will be me in this shirt, which if you can see at all is a Union Jack. I'm going to be cons. If you can't see very well, this t-shirt is the only t-shirt I have that says something about the world on it. And it says, the fashioning of a new world. So maybe it's not so much that I don't want to live here, but just that I want to live somewhere on a new planet. Or at least a new world. Anyway, so pros, cons, we're going to have a bit of a chat. Me and me. Pro. We have the NHS. For those of you that don't know what this is, it's a National Health Service. It basically means that if I break my arm, I don't have to pay to get it fixed. If I need surgery, it's free, and that's true for anyone who is a British citizen or living in the UK after like a year or something. Or it might just be true straight away, but basically it means that while people in the US have to pay hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds if they're in a car crash, I only have to pay for insurance for my car being damaged. Con. If you're going to the doctors, you sometimes have to wait for ages and ages and ages because A&E is always full and your doctor's surgeries are always full and it's just busy. The hospitals are busy, doctor's surgeries are busy, clinics are busy, everywhere is busy. Pro. I have free speech. I can say what I want through any medium I want. People don't have to listen, but I can say it. Con. Because of free speech, we end up with a lot of radical groups and a lot of that turns into hate speech. So it's not unsurprising to hear people preaching about things that are actually really not very nice. It also means that kind of people use, free speech as a kind of reasoning to get away with really horrible stuff, which is not what it's there for. Pro, we have gun laws. It's practically impossible for someone to get a gun without having been checked and CBR'd. Con, houses are expensive. Because there's not much space here because it's so small, houses are really quite tightly packed together, and when they are built, they're really expensive. Unlike, I don't know, Australia, the house prices are really cheap because there's loads of land. Pro, everyone under the age of 18 has free education. This means that I can be so poor that I can't feed myself, but I can still be educated until the end of year 13. Con, even though we have free school, you do have to stay until you're 18. It used to be 16, and then the government decided that that wasn't long enough to keep us locked in a small room for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. Now it's till you're 18. The Woodcraft Folk, if you don't know what this is, and I'm guessing you won't do unless you live in the UK, Woodcraft Folk is like a child cooperative. We run group sessions in cities all across the UK, and we also do loads and loads of national and international activities. So camping, we have one big camp every year at least, and we have an international camp here every 5 years. It's really packed with people, itty bitty living space, lots of people. This is not as true in America or Canada or Australia or New Zealand. They've got more space, possibly fewer people in some cases. Pro, mild weather. We don't get hurricanes or earthquakes, and we can pretty much guarantee that we're not going to need ski wear, but we're also, not going to need to invest in hundreds of dollars worth of air conditioning because it never gets that warm, really. Con, it rains a lot. A lot. It's June. It's been pissing it down all day. Seriously. It's June! Should be sunny! Pro, we live in the first world. UK is very wealthy for a country this small, to be honest. We have a lot of money, we have a lot of people, and yet we aren't really full of sweatshops, which is good. Con, it very, very rarely snows, and when it does snow, it's crap snow. Like, it snows for a bit, and it might settle, and you might be able to get some gravelly snowballs, but you definitely cannot build a big snowman and have a snowball fight and still have snow left over in your back garden. And school is very rarely cancelled because of snow, because it's never snowing here. We didn't have any snow this year, like at all. Didn't snow once this winter. The UK is not as horrifically sexist, racist, homophobic, transphobic as other countries. It's legal to be gay here, it's legal to be a woman here, it's legal to work and be both of those things here, it's legal to be transgender here, it's legal to be not white. You can still get jobs. Con, despite the fact that we're not as racist, homophobic, transphobic, sexist as other countries, we're still not the best place in the world. It's still ridiculously sexist, racist, homophobic, transphobic, etc. Like, wolf whistling is still a thing, catcalling is still a thing, racism and sexism in job hiring is still a thing, transphobia and homophobia is still a thing, fag is still used as an insult, gay is still used as an insult. So many things wrong with this country about that. Our currency makes sense. This is mainly aimed at the US, which I know you've got like a penny system and that's fine, but all of your notes are the same colour. Like, how do you not just get confused all the time? Our notes are different colours. And we only have notes for 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, and then on and on, if you ever possess that much money. And then other places have got really confusing currency. Like, it's easier now with Europe because the euro is just everywhere. But some places have got really confusing currency. Like, what are rubles? We also have really busy roads. So, roads are just ridiculously crowded all the time. There's always traffic jams, and it's not really possible to kind of go driving for fun because it'll take you 5 hours to get out of the city. Pro, we're only in one time zone. If I'm ringing someone at the other end of the country, I don't have to try and figure out what time it is. It's the same time there as it is here. Pro, we have child labour laws. This means that we can't put small children in sweatshops. Pro, we're a pretty liberal country, so we have gay marriage laws, we have, like, women can vote and people not from Britain can vote, anyone can stand for election, that kind of thing. We have a welfare state. This is where if you're unemployed and can't work for any number of reasons, like you can't find a job, or you have a disability that means you can't work, or you have to care for someone who has a disability which means you can't work, then the government will give you some money, like supposedly enough to. We have to wait absolutely ages for good movies, good books, TV shows and musicians to come here, because why would you come to a tiny island that's cold and damp? Like, why? But yeah, so TV shows that are American get broadcast there in September and don't come here until February. Like, that's a long time. I want to watch it now. Pro, we get British things first, including Doctor Who. Even though they've become really Americanised, we still get Doctor Who first, because it's ours. Con, you can't go to events in other countries very easily. I can't go to VidCon, or BookCon, or Book Expo, or BEA, or like festivals that happen in the US, or basically anywhere else. And as a country, we're not very up with other countries. We spell things correctly. Colour has a U in it, as does favourite. It just does. Con, Britain doesn't really give a shit about anywhere else. I don't mean that in a, like, mean sense. I just mean that other countries are all into internationalism, and we say we are, and yet, like, it's not something that we're taught about. We don't learn about other countries' history. We don't learn other languages very well. We don't look into the world around us, because Britain, well, is Britain, and apparently we think we're the best at everything, even though we're shocking at almost everything. Oh, we have no forced religion. It's not unusual for people to be different religions. It's not unusual to have, like, a whole group of people that are all friends, and none of them have the same religion. My friends consist of a Sikh, 2 Catholics, at least 4 agnostics, and several atheists, and then a couple Christians. It's quite expensive to live here. Like, it's not as expensive as some places, but it is pretty expensive. Houses cost a lot, food costs a lot, petrol costs a lot, cars cost a lot, university costs a lot. Like, name me a thing, you can bet it costs quite a bit of money. We have a long history. Like, you can look back and there's loads and loads and loads of stuff to learn about Britain. And so it's really, really interesting. Our country has a great and interesting history of oppressing people and generally just being a complete a-hole to everyone. Pro, you can travel the whole country in one day. Like, you can go from the very, very top all the way to the bottom coast. Like, you can even do that from the top of Scotland and get to the bottom of England in one day. Like, it'd take you all day, but you could do it. Pro, we speak English. So if English is your first language, you can pretty much do well here. Pro, we've got pretty decent chocolate. Like, Americans put hardly any sugar in their chocolate, and that's just strange. Pro, we have Kinder eggs. If you don't know what a Kinder egg is, basically it's about this big, and it's chocolate and in an egg form, and then it's hollow on the inside, and when you've eaten all the chocolate, there's a little plastic, like, egg, and then you open it and there's a toy inside, like a tiny jigsaw puzzle or a race car. Pro, we have the West End. If you've never been to the West End, it's beautiful. Basically, it's a part in London that just has rows and rows and rows of theatres and loads of musicals all year. Pro, we have good music. People that are, like, we've had good music for years. We had the Beatles back in the 60s. And currently, I cannot think of a single British musician. We do have them. I want to say that Passenger's British, but I could be very wrong about that. We have the BBC, which is again a thing about, like, free stuff. So the BBC is the British Broadcasting Corporation, and basically everyone gets it. If you pay your TV licence and can therefore have a TV, you get the BBC. If you don't have a TV but have the internet, you can watch BBC iPlayer. Like, everyone gets the BBC for no money, because it's the BBC. Despite the fact that we're pretty influential as a country, even though we're not as important as we think we are, people still never show British people correctly on TV. Like, British television does, but American movies never really seem to, you know, show British people the way they are. We always have exactly the same accent no matter where in the country we're from, and all of the fancy people are from London. I don't know if you know this, but there are some people in London who are, you know, just as poor as everywhere else in the country. And we have different accents depending on where we come from. If you ask a Scouser a question, they are definitely going to say something that some of you are not going to be able to understand. If you ask a Southerner and a Northerner to say the word bath or bath, you will get them into an argument. And we definitely don't all look like the pretty British boys that they get on TV. Like, British lads? Yeah. It's as much a lucky dip here as it is anywhere else. We also have loads of really good festivals, so we've got V Festival, Leeds and Reading Festival, the Edinburgh Festival. I know that's technically Scottish, but until they have their referendum, I'm counting them as British. We have Glastonbury, we have Glaston Budget. Everyone who is over 18 can vote. Anyone. Everyone can vote. Everyone, except prisoners. Prisoners can't vote. Pro, anyone can stand for elections, including people who are in jail. Pro, sex is legal at 16 here. Con, meeting mild to high-end celebrities is quite rare in the UK. Like, in the US, people have the opportunity, if they're travelling, and people they like are travelling, at the same time, like, people meet. Like, people have met John Green at an airport. That's probably never going to happen to me. Because, A, all our airports are in London, and B, why would I need to fly anywhere? The whole country is drivable. So meeting celebrities is not as kind of accessible. I mean, it's not hugely accessible anywhere, but here it's definitely more of an issue than in the US. This is also true for kind of YouTube celebrities. So some people get to meet people that they subscribe to on YouTube because they go to the same events. That's more difficult here because there's so few events that happen in the UK. Pro, we have Bonfire Night, which is a thing that basically nowhere else in the world celebrates, which is the 5th of November, and is basically celebrating this guy who tried to blow up the Houses of Parliament. Or is it celebrating that he was caught? No one's ever really sure. Pro, alcohol you can buy at 18. We use Celsius degrees, like pretty much everywhere but the US uses Celsius degrees, and yet it's part of my maths teaching that I have to learn Fahrenheit. I'm never gonna use Fahrenheit. Con, and this is a slightly controversial con, is we have a royal family. I don't like the royal family. I think they're a bit of a waste. Not as human beings, just as, you know, they've got all this money and they're kind of wasting it. And good for you, you had a baby, but I don't really care. I don't know who you are. I know nothing about you. I don't really care what you've named your child. Or, good for you, you're getting married. I don't believe in marriage, and I also don't care about the two of you as a couple because I've never met you. Thanks for the day off school. We've got good travel links, so you can get from where I live in Leicester to London, which is the capital of England, in an hour and 27 minutes or something, which is really good because it's like 120 miles or something. Transport is shocking, and it's privately owned. Trains are extortionate, as are buses, depending on where in the country you are. Like in Sheffield, it costs 80p to get the bus. In Leicester, it costs £2.80. And if you have to get the bus to and from work every day, that's like £4 difference every day. That's a lot of money over a year. And even when the buses aren't extortionate, the travel links aren't that great. Trying to get from somewhere to another place can take up to an hour despite it only really being a 20-minute journey. It's easy to get to other countries. You can go via the Channel and get to France, or you can go via ferry and get to France, or you can go by plane and get to France. You can get to other countries as well, but we're really into France. All of the political parties here are kind of centre and a bit to the right of centre, and our government is made up of the Conservatives, also known as the Tories, and the Lib Dems, who should also really be known as the slightly more left Tories. Pro, we don't have to swear allegiance to anything. You don't have to like the Queen. You don't have to kind of like the government. You can basically do what you want about it. Con, in a lot of countries where English isn't your first language, it's taught quite early on. So from 4 years old in France, they start learning English and that's their second language. Here, you don't really start learning a second language until you're 10 or 11, by which point it's kind of too late for it to just be as natural. And you have the option of dropping it after 4 years, which I didn't take, but I did then drop it after another 2 years because I didn't enjoy learning it, because I was being taught it in a really regimented way rather than just learning a language like you do when you're little. These were the pros and cons of living in the UK. If you can think of any more cons, if you have any more pros, please feel free to comment in the comments box. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye! I've said the word BBC now so many times. Yep. No. Pro, our bread tastes better. I don't know better than where. My mum said that we had good bread. Like sweat factories. Sweatshops, not sweat factories. A factory that manufactures